Alright, this is section 4-2. This is on prime factorization. So before we start, we need to know a couple vocabulary terms, and that is prime and composite. Let's start with the word prime. Prime numbers are numbers that only have factors of itself and 1. So they only have 2 factors. For example, the number 19, factors of it are 19 and 1. So that would be a prime number. And then composite numbers are numbers that have multiple factors, more than 1. So they have itself, they have 1, and they have at least one more number. An example of that would be like the number 28. Well, you know 28 and 1 are both factors, but you also know there are other numbers that go into it. So, for instance, that would be 7 times 2 times 2 times 1. So you have more than just 28 and 1. You have 7, 2, and 2, and 4, and 14, for a few examples. So in order to do these problems, let's go to example 2. We're doing prime factorization. We're doing a factor tree. So let's do the factor tree for 36. And there's multiple ways you can do this. I know you guys will think this is pretty simple, and it pretty much is. But you can do this a couple ways. I can think of 6 times 6 is 36, and we just keep going until everything we have is prime. 3 and 2 and 3 and 2 are all prime numbers. So we can write this out several ways. 3 times 2 times 3 times 2 is one way to write the number 36. But when they write a prime factorization, they actually put these in order from least to greatest. So 2 times 2 times 3 is one way to write it, and then they'll do this with exponents. 2 to the second power times 3 to the second power. So when they do prime factorization, that is what they're looking for. And the last part here that we're going to factor out, well, there's a couple things we can do. Factoring a monomial. A monomial is a number or a variable or a product of numbers or variables. So basically a monomial would be like what we've used the word term. So a term is also basically what you can consider a monomial. Okay, so like terms, like monomials would be kind of a way that you could think of those. So a monomial is basically just a term. And then example 3, they want you to factor. So factor the monomial. The question is 8ab squared. So if we factored this, we're going to do a couple things. First of all, we're going to factor 8. So 4 and 2, and then 4 can go further. So 8 is the same as 2 times 2 times 2. But as we write this down here, we've got, so 2 times 2 times 2 is really 2 to the third power times A times B times B. So when they say factor this, they are wanting you to write out this whole thing. So you'd have 2 times 2 times 2 times A times B times B. So when it says factor, it wants all those written out so you know every single thing that goes into those numbers. Let's try another example. Letter B says negative 30x to the third power y. So the first thing we're going to do is factor the 30. So 10 and 3, 5 and 2. So as we factor this, that became, and realize this is a negative also. So one of the first things we have is negative 1 times 2 times 3 times 5, and that comes from all these. And we also have the negative. So we got -1. And then times x times x times x times y. Because when you take x to the third times y, you get x, 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 and y. So this is our answer down here at the bottom. That's called factoring a monomial. Let's try another one. Example 3c, we have -16 e squared f to the third power. So first of all, you have a negative. So we've got -1 times something. So now we've got to do 16. We get 4 and 4, 2 and 2, 2 and 2. So these are all of our factors. So we get times 2, times 2, times 2, times 2, times e, times e, times f, times f, times f. And there you go. That is the answer for 3C. Good luck.